A lot of what we're going to talk about for the rest of the time here is going to be very repetitive. But that's because people who have gone through this experience generally all come out with the same ideas about what is good and what is not good. And everything Yishan said about being genuine and having the college see you as a person, not as just a piece of paper, is exactly what the point of the interview is all about. If you hear us repeat a point 15 times, that means that it's probably very important. So don't be frustrated by the fact that we're all saying the same thing. Question?
Yes. Is this interview applicant initiated, or the university requires you to go through the interview process?
Generally, when you apply to a school, they will notify you of whether or not you have an interview. You are allowed to contact the school and say, oh, hey, I was very interested in the school and I would really like an interview, and that will not do anything to harm your chances. But the applicant pool is growing larger and larger every year. There are only so many interviewers who are in the area who are available to do interviews, and you may not get an interview even if you request one. So though it is always in your best interest, if you are very serious about a school, to do that extra step and say, I would really like to interview, I would really like to meet with someone, and I'm very interested in your school. So though these interviews are not applicant initiated, it is not bad to initiate one if you want. Yes.
Most of the schools, it's all information is online. So they will tell you if you need to contact the school or they contact you. Because there were a few schools I applied to that they had a form to fill out if you did want to request an interview. But most of them are alumni contacted. So either way, you should look online and verify that.
Right. Yeah. Of course, things always vary from school to school. So certain schools have different rules that govern them, and the things I would say today are not going to apply to every single school you apply to. But they are general rules that go for most schools. Any other questions? The opening question is almost always, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Not because that's the go-to question to start with, but because if you were meeting someone, what would you say to them? You would just say, hey, you want to tell me a little bit about yourself? Because this question is good because it can give this person any type of response they want. They can start talking about their sport that they really like. They can start talking about their instrument that they really like, or they could talk about their academics. I mean, it all goes from there. And so don't be afraid of this question. There's no wrong answer to tell me about yourself. But don't be afraid to be actually truthful about yourself and talk about how much you like to play badminton, even though you might think that's silly. It's a legit sport. So, anyways, the Harvard interview basically went very formally. The interviewer was very by the book and asked me very specific questions, and was very stoic in his response. So it was kind of a less of a give and take interview than I had expected, and it was a little bit stressful. But you should expect this type of interview if you get a variety of interviews. This could happen. But for the other interviews, they were very different. For example, for Cornell, I talked to a lady who had graduated from Cornell a long time ago, and she was mostly interested in talking about not Cornell. If you understand that, she was basically she just wanted to chat and kind of see about who I was. And since she had graduated so long ago, she didn't really have that much relevant information about Cornell to tell me. And this can happen to you as well. You could get someone who doesn't really necessarily want to follow the instruction manual of interviews, and they just kind of want to chat about their lives or your lives. And you should be ready for that as well. And for my ground interview, I spent a lot of time talking about squash with the woman, which is a sport that is played on the East Coast. It's not the actual squash. And so we spent a lot of time, we went off on tangents, we talked about sports, we talked about other things, we talked about my interests, we talked about basketball. And so the main point of this is that anything can go. The guidelines of interview should still stand, but the interviewer can take the interviewee in whatever direction that the interviewer wants to go. So you should be ready to tackle any type of questions that you want. Though at the same time, all the interviews will be pretty casual, and you shouldn't be too stressed out about anything that they ask. Okay, any questions about this part?